I'm Fernando Fernandez for FERNTV, and we're here at the Hot Docs Film Festival, and we're going to go to an interview with Attie and Meghan O'Hara of the film In Country. So can you please tell us, how did you first learn about what was going on here in Oregon, and of course for this film documentary, In Country?
Mike actually had shot with a couple of groups. There's Civil War reenacting and American Revolutionary War reenacting. It's very popular in the United States. But when we heard that there were people doing Vietnam, we were very curious that someone would want to take on a war that was so controversial and that many of the people were still alive that had fought in the war. So to have someone reenacting Vietnam felt very, very provocative, and we wanted to know. Our big question going in was why? Why would anyone want to reenact Vietnam? Mm-hmm. So we spent some time researching groups that were doing this, and we settled on this group largely because there's a huge number of veterans from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam, all reenacting the Vietnam War. And we thought it was really interesting that people who had combat experience wanted to do this mock combat,
right,
and put themselves back in that situation. We thought it was a really fascinating topic for a film.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did they? What was the process like in getting them to agree to doing this film? Of course.
I mean, we sort of reached out to them and just started with, the correspondence started via email and then on phone, and we were very open about our intentions that. We were interested in why they were doing it. We were, not looking to make a mockery of them, but also were aware that people were often skeptical of it, and they are too. I mean, they're savvy and they know. Mm-hmm. And so it took a while, but eventually they let us come out to one event. And the funny sort of caveat was that we had to actually dress up. The one sort of caveat that we made was we had to dress up like Vietnam War correspondents. Mm-hmm. So we dressed head to toe in Vietnam fatigues, and had the boots on and the gear, and the only modern concession was our camera. And it was, I think, kind of funny for Meghan because she was probably the only woman
for many miles. And that made it kind of amusing. But what's interesting then is what happens is that because you're sort of then part of their fantasy, mm-hmm. is they often addressed us like we were correspondents in Vietnam, and so we sort of became part of their reenactment, part of that experience.
Now, there's a lot of characters in this film and a lot of people in this film, of course, but what did you learn about some of the characters, or is there something that stands out in your mind about maybe perhaps one of the characters or one of the people in this film?
It's an ensemble cast, and we did that. I mean, it's in a way it's kind of like a war movie in that way that we have this ensemble cast, but we focus on three main characters. Two of which are fought in the war in Iraq, and one of which is a Vietnam veteran who's South Vietnamese. He's a refugee in Oregon, and he fought during the war for the South alongside the Americans. And it was really interesting, particularly with him, asking him sort of, there's a question in the film where you just hear me ask him, aren't these bad memories? Why do you want to go back to this?
Right.
And he had a really interesting answer, which is that, for him this was a time, even though it was his country, was ultimately destroyed in this process, this was a time when he felt like he was fighting for something he believed in, and I think that's a lot of. It was the most vital time of his life, and that's the part that he's remembering. And I think that's true for a lot of the other American soldiers that participate. They're really remembering, they went into the military looking for a meaningful experience, and this is a way that they can try to reconnect with that, even though most of them come back with very, very negative consequences to their time in battle.
Yeah. So tell us, how does it feel to be here at Hot Docs and
what's especially exciting for us is that we actually pitched here at the Forum last year.
Nice.
And so, and that was a great experience, and it was a real sort of coming out for us. So then to come back with the finished film
Nice.
for our international premiere is really
Right.
exciting. So it feels like we're sort of coming full circle, and it's
Yeah.
one of our favorite festivals.
Hot
and-
Docs is one of the most important documentary festivals in the world.
Yeah,
like
so
it
to be
feels
here,
amazing.
It
to
feels
be
like
here.
the kind of hub of it all. So
Yeah.
we're seeing lots of films and just connecting back with other filmmakers. It's been an amazing experience.
Now, tell us what kind of message you want to relate to your audience when they see you in country.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's no single message, I think, that you take away from the film. And as we've been watching it with audiences, people get a lot of, people take a lot of different things out of it. I think what we were hoping to portray is sort of, number one, cause people to sort of reflect on the last sort of 50 years, we're almost at 50 years since the Vietnam War,
Right.
of American sort of military history and our relationship to veterans over that time. I think it's a film that really provokes a new way of looking at our relationship to veterans, and I think that's probably the strongest takeaway of the film. But there's no single sort of like right or wrong, message that the film has. It's really an experience. Like
Right.
you go into the woods with them, and
Right.
you go to a place that you've never seen before, and probably hang out with people that you would never talk to otherwise. So we hope that we're providing that experience for the audience.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
and
so
I hope
much.
it does, your country does very well here at Hot Talks, and please talk to us again for any future podcasts.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.